Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and this week I'm going to be talking to you about how to initiate your downswing. So this will be a three-part video, and today I'm going to talk to you about what your hips and knees do in the downswing, and in the following 2 weeks I'll talk to you about what your torso does and what your arms do. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more golf content in the future. Let's get into it. So I first want to start off by explaining to everyone that the downswing can be broken down into three movements: a forward movement, an outward movement, and a downward movement. So from the top of the swing, the forward movement primarily comes from the lateral movement of your hips towards the target. The outward force primarily comes from the turning of the torso plus the arms and wrists rotating the club over. And the downward force comes from the extension in the right arm plus the left arm pulling across the chest. Now it's important to note that every body part plays a role in these movements, and which one you focus on really depends on your own tendencies. But essentially, it is the correct blend of these three movements that will allow you to bring the club into the ball correctly in your downswing. For example, if you were a golfer that had too much outward movement in the downswing and not enough forward movement, you would most likely throw the hands and club well out in front of you and swing the club head across the golf ball to the left and result in slice shots or even pull hooks. And reversely, if you have too much forward movement in the downswing and not enough outward movement, you'll probably start to swing the club too excessively from in to out, and that will result in a lot of block shots or a lot of big sweeping draws. So now that you have an understanding of the basic movements that are involved, let's go ahead and break down what the hips and the knees do in the downswing. So the better players tend to start their downswing by leaning into their left leg. This gets your hips moving more towards the target and limits excessive outward movements up to this point. The common idea among many amateur players is to begin turning your hips as hard as you can, but that will most likely cause you to throw the club outside and over the top, which can lead to all sorts of issues. As you continue on, the hips and knees will continue to move a little more towards the target, and the trail leg begins to regain some bend. The bend in the lead knee would be mostly maintained and would continue to move towards the target. Now, as you come into impact, the forward movement of the hips causes the left side of your hip to become higher than the right side of your hip. This can help golfers swing the club more degrees from in to out, and your lead leg will begin to straighten. And one other thing for you to remember is that there's no specific body part that you can move, and there's no specific movement that you can do. It's really based on your own specific tendencies that'll really determine which body part we need to focus on. So the last thing that I want to point out to everyone is that a lot of amateurs that I talk to, when they're at the top of their backswings, the first thing that they think about is that they want to fire their hips as hard as they can. But now that you know what's really going on, is whenever you turn too aggressively any part of your body in the downswing, that's more of an outward movement, right? And when that happens, your hands and club head will move outside and most likely swing across the golf balls to the left. So what I would suggest that most amateurs do, instead of firing their hips aggressively, is from the top, you want to make sure that your hips move more laterally towards the target without having too much turn too early on in the downswing. So if you can make sure that you get to the top, you shift immediately to your left side without turning too much, that'll allow you to swing the club more from the inside. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some really good insight on what your hips and knees should be doing in the downswing. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And be sure to stay tuned for the next 2 videos of the series, just so that I can go over what the upper body does and what the arms do in the downswing as well. See you guys next time.